Hey guys, welcome to another week with Emerald and Ivy Studios. I'm Caitlin Sheffer, and every Thursday or so, give or take a few days, I'm still getting used to this, I'll be posting a new video covering everything from watercolors to hand lettering to creative living in general. Today, because we're just getting started, I kind of wanted to go over some basics and talk about my very favorite supplies. This will be just a brief overview. It's not trying to sell you on certain products. These are genuinely my favorite things to use. I will list them in the link in the description below. They will not be affiliate links, so you can just click on them. I won't be making any money, not getting paid. I just want to talk about my favorite products. First off, let's talk about paper. My current favorite paper is by Legion. It's called Legion Stonehenge Cold Press. I love it. It is a block. It comes in a block, so it's sealed on the sides. The two shorter sides are loose, so when it comes time to take your paper off of the block, it's really easy to do that. It absorbs water really well. It doesn't buckle too much. My other favorite paper is this, the Fabriano Extra White Cold Press paper. This was my favorite up until recently when I switched to Stonehenge, but they're both really, really good. Before I used these two, I used Arches, which is also nice. It's just a little more textured than these two. So these are my two favorites that I recommend. I get them on Blick, and they usually are about 20 bucks a pad, but sometimes you can get sales. It just depends. I would keep an eye out for when they have their big sales. My favorite brushes are Princeton Heritage round brushes. I've used a lot of different ones, kinds that you get at the craft store, like the Michaels brand, the Hobby Lobby store brand. I've tried Winsor Newton. I've tried several different kinds, and Princeton has been my favorite. I've been using them for about a year, and they hold up really well. In fact, I just bought my first replacement size 6 and 10 just this past month, which means that I've used these babies for a long time before they've started to even lose their shape. So I highly recommend the Princeton brand, the Heritage series. I do have one of Princeton's other round brushes. It's their Elite, and I don't like it as much. I feel like the Heritage brand holds its shape better. It holds water really well. So personally, I would go with Heritage. The Elite is fine, but this is better in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about palettes really quick. This is a ceramic, I use it for mixing my paints. It's pretty clean right now. I haven't been working with it too much this week. But what I do is I have my palette with all my paints in it. And what I do is I take them from a tube, I squeeze it into one of the wells, let it dry, and then I go in with my brush, with a wet brush, get it wet. It's now nice and loose. And then I can go ahead in my bowl and I can mix up whatever color I want. So say if I want a little bit more of an earthy green, I'll mix in a little orange. So that's kind of how I do my mixing and my paints. I don't necessarily have a palette that I recommend. I like this type with the wells and the places that you can mix. But really anything will do just fine. The paints that I recommend that I use most are the Winsor & Newton Professional tubes. These are the smaller, the 5 milliliter tubes, but they also sell 15 milliliter tubes. And I also use the Daniel Smith Extra Fine Watercolors. And I've recently started using these more, and I think I might like them better. Don't tell Winsor & Newton. They're both great, and they're both ones, I will use both brands forever, but I do think that the Daniel Smith ones are exceptional. And then I just have I just get a cute little bowl, put it on my desk, fill it with water, and that's what I use. Nothing, I mean, it kind of makes me feel a little bit extra to have like a really pretty bowl, but a cup of water will be just fine. And then I always have a paper towel under my bowl to wipe my brush on. And then last thing to note is you can use a palette knife. I just use a knife. When I'm done painting on my pad of paper, my block, to get it off of the page nice and smooth, I'll just insert it and slide it down. And that's kind of one of the other supplies that's handy to have. I also really I have a couple drawing pens that I like. My current favorite is the Tombow Drawing Pen. I don't use a lot of pen, but when I do, I like to use the Mono or the Micron pens. And I usually use like a 3 or a 5 because the watercolor paper is textured. So if you use something with a really small nib, it tends to catch on the paper a little more, so it's easier when there's a bigger nib. So that's pretty much all of my favorite supplies. Really quickly, I will mention with paints, if you don't like to buy them in tubes, you like to buy them in pre-mixed palettes, I really like this this brand of paint. They're from Japan, and I think it's pronounced Kuretake. I'm really sorry if I butchered the pronunciation. Gansai, Tambi. See, that's me trying to speak Japanese. I'll link it for you. But these are really, really concentrated and beautiful. They're very opaque. So you have to add a lot of water if you want really translucent watercolors. But I love these. They're great, and there's a lot of colors to choose from, and this whole thing was only $34. That's a little bit about the supplies that I use. Please feel free to leave questions in the comments below. I would love to help you if you have any issues or questions on favorite supplies. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.